Hey there guys, this is me, Malorian, and this is going to be another Paintisode. Now, it's kind of a weird Paintisode, which I'll get to in a second, but for those who haven't seen this, you're not supposed to be really watching it, you're supposed to be listening, so I mean, go grab your paints, your hobby things, and then I'm going to be working on stuff. I'll be filling your ears with some white noise, and at the end of it, you know, you'll have stuff done, I'll have stuff done, and it's just a win-win situation. Now, I say this one's not really a Paintisode because I won't be painting. So hey, I guess maybe you'll be painting, but I won't be. And that's because I went and I bought some new models today. And I'm going to be putting them together and talking about them. And also talking about the questions you sent in. A little way back this week here, I asked everybody if they had any questions. So I'll be answering those. And yeah, we'll kind of see how this goes. I'm going to be drinking this. Now, Sleeman is something I've been drinking for a while, and somebody, when they came over for gaming night, brought all these, left them here. I gave them 2 weeks, so now it's fair game. But this one here is the 5514 Filtered Wheat Ale. I have no idea how this would taste. You know, I mean, like I said, I like their regular one. And for some reason, there's like a huge chip out of the bottle. I hope this doesn't just like break. That's kind of worrisome. But let's see how awful or not awful this is. It's bearable. It's not my favorite by far. Yeah. I mean, it's drinkable, and I'll drink it clearly, but I don't know. Alright, so let's kind of look at the models I picked up today. Now, for one of the models that's here, or not here rather, that I picked up was a Sea Dog Rifleman, and that's really from my brother. He's been doing Cricks for a long time, but then he started doing Menoth for a long time, then kind of started dabbling with Legion, and then Ghostly came, and he tried fighting it, but he just couldn't help it. He got drawn in. The only reason why he didn't jump in it right away as soon as it was released was that he just didn't have the models. You know, this is the thing for a lot of Cricks players, that lots of people play Cricks, and lots of Cricks players have lots of Cricks models, but the things you need for Ghost Fleet are not common models, because usually in the past they weren't, you know, the best models, rules-wise, and some people would argue look-wise, and so they just didn't have them. And so one of the things that's hard to do now is find them. You would think that these are unpopular models, they'd be everywhere, but of course at this point in the game, everyone's looking for these things, whether it's in store or eBay or any of these things, and for the life of him, he cannot find the last rifleman he needs for the list. So yeah, he's been having a hell of a time with that, and he's just getting really frustrated. And I was like, wait a second, the Sea Dog Rifleman is literally the same thing, right? You really take your Sea Dogs, make them undead or whatever, and that's really what you get there for the Cricks version. It's really kind of the same thing. So I looked at the store, saw if it was available, and it's like $6. So why not go buy that? And then yeah, you put them side by side, and like the Sea Dog one, of course he's like living, so he's not like withered and stuff, so he's a little bit thicker, but it's really like exactly the same pose, pretty much exactly the same gun. And when you're looking at the conversion rules and stuff, it has to not break any IP, be at least 50%, you know, War Machine model, which it's 100% for now anyway. It has to show the weapons that it's supposed to have, and it's not supposed to have any extra weapons it's not supposed to have. Those are the kind of main things you should be going through. Now, we are going to make one change to it, where we're going to try and cut off the head, and just put on like a skull or a zombie head. Like, we've been playing games for a while, for all the GW things, Fantasy and 40K, so we had extra heads. You know, actually a Risen head. I can just grab a Risen head we could put out down there. I have an extra one of those. But yeah, and then that should be good to go, and it was cheap and easy, and yeah, fantastic times. Now, that's for him, and so hooray, I'm a nice brother, but at the same time, I want to get stuff for me too. I'm going to leave this one to last, because I got some things to say about it. One of the things I got here was Bloody Bradigan. So, you know, pretty nice guy. Of course, I got from Thunderground. That's the local store here that we all love. Maybe the best store in Alberta. But, yeah. This guy, in the past, I've never really been huge into pirates, which is probably weird. You know, how about I just build them as I chat about them? You know what? like I was just saying, I was never really into pirates, and the problem with Mark II, when I was first getting most of these things, is that, man, there was a huge battle between solos, right? You got all these 2-point solos, and even if there's somebody that's like, okay, you're competing with all the 2-point solos, which are amazing. So that's really a problem for him, and that's why I just didn't pick him up. Now in Mark III, he went down kind of half a point. Instead of being 2 points, so you expect 4. Now he's just 3 points. He got some other cool rules that actually let him do some pretty nice stuff. So, you know, I kind of appreciate that, and I like it, and I don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but from a point of completing things, I want it. Plus, he's in a very interesting spot now, being 3 points. Now, Privateer Press put out that idea that they were going to start allowing mercenaries inside of the theme forces. So basically, you could pick up to 1 solo, unit, battle engine, blah, 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 blah. And, oh no, what do they do here? How is this supposed to work? It's like you got 1 foot, another foot, and then the ball goes lower than the foot. So if I would put the base in exactly like this, this foot would be just kind of like floating. I guess you're supposed to be like charging and like dragging the ball. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, that's kind of weird. It's also a really tight fit to get into this thing. Not really the end of the world, but get in there. Jeez. Sometimes these older ones are a little bit wide, and so I don't want to break them either. There we go. Now, if you're not, if brute force isn't working, you're not using enough of it. It's one of those situations. So anyway, getting to what I was trying to before I had to fight with bloody Brannigan, they started having the idea that you could be adding mercenaries into your theme list, up to 1 solo, unit, battle engine, blah, 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 blah. And that I really like that idea. I think it's interesting. There's going to be some cases will be broken, but I think it really opens up a lot of the theme lists to be having a lot more variation, because even though you're locked in a lot of times, like, hey, you need these exact units, and you need groupings of 20 points of these units to get bonuses, so take them. When you start looking at those extra mercenaries, there's a lot more stuff you can look at. It's like, well, I might want to take this or this or this or this, and I find that a lot of flavor could be added to a lot of theme forces. Whereas right now they're very stagnant and there's not much you can do with them a lot of times. You seem locked in. Well, adding these mercenary options really lets you customize them just one step at least, so that you can do something with it. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some broken combinations, but so far the worst things I've heard is like, oh, you can get like a combination of +1 to go first in the theme, and take Anastasia, so you got +2. Okay, is that really that important? I don't know. But the best thing, though, that I feel is that different themes, sometimes you get stuck for points, right? It's like, okay, I'm working through my list, I got 2 points left, but I have nothing that's worth 2 points, or 3 points. And that's where mercs and mercenaries are great, because they have these models that are worth 2 points or 3 points. So getting back to Bloody Brannigan, if you get to the end and find that you have 3 points left, maybe this is the boy you want. Just somebody to throw up there and be like, hey, I know I'm kind of cheap and annoying, but if you let me get to you, I'm going to do some really nasty things. So there he is. I mean, one of the things that's kind of disappointing seeing him is that whenever I see him online, he's painted and he's covered in tattoos. And, you know, of course, being painted by amazing painters, mine's not going to look that good. I mean, I can already look at this guy and tell that he's going to be easy to paint, because he's mainly just skin with some shackles on him and some ripped up pants and boots. So I'm pretty sure if this was like a Paintisode, I could paint this guy 30 minutes, no problem. But hey, maybe I'll try my hand at trying to do some sort of tattoos. Although I tried that in the past. What was that on? That was on Lizardman. I tried doing some tattoos, and on Ogre Kingdoms, and they were pretty bad. Yeah, I am not at that level. So anyway, he was one piece and he's done. So Bloody Brannigan, welcome to the press gang. Now, I've got a lot of these dudes, and these are the Thorn Gun Mages. And in the past, they came out, they were okay, but I didn't pick them up because, I don't know, they didn't really fit in. I had some people who were like, they're amazing with Cephalix, take them with Cephalix. And when I looked at it, it just didn't seem to be right. And I didn't want to spend, I mean, they're not cheap, right? They're fairly expensive models. And so I didn't want to pick them up if they're not going to be something I'm definitely going to use. And one of the things that then changed my mind, because clearly here they are, and I decided to get them, was actually the fact that they're going to be releasing all of those themes. Why would they do this? Privateer Press, okay, side rant. So for each of these models, they have legs, they have a body with one arm, and then there's also another arm. I don't know why you did this. I assume the mold process makes it difficult to go between the cape and the body. But man, this is just gonna suck where you have to kind of like two-stage this. Where I mean, I'm lazy, and like Bloody Brannigan is just like, boom, done, that's it. Yeah, now this is just gonna be kind of a pain in the ass. So, all right, well, we'll do what we can. But anyway, again, for the completionist in me, I was like, sure, let's finally pick these guys up, girls, or a mix of a unit, and yeah, we'll see what they can do. But more importantly, they're going to now be releasing all those themes for all the models, and you just know Lealese are going to get their theme, and guess what they are? They're Lealese. So you know they're going to play a big part of the theme, and I hope they're amazing. I hope they're cool. You know, Ashlyn, always a very cool model, but one of the main reasons why she doesn't get played right now is you literally can't take her in a theme. Unlike some of the other ones, they're like, take whatever you want, and just make sure you take robots and get free points. In Mercland, it's like, okay, if you're a dwarf, here you go, you can do this. If you're Cephalix, okay, you got this, there you go. And, okay, we'll do Kingmaker, but only these certain models, go, here you go. And it says, well, what about everybody else? So that's really unfortunate. I say everybody else. Most of them are captured within those three themes, but then it's just annoying for the ones that aren't. So, it'll soon be fixed. As much as this bothers me, and the stage that we're at right now, where there aren't themes for everything, whoop, almost dropped it. We are going to be at a spot here very quickly before the end of the year where it's all fixed. I'm sure there's some people that will be saying, Malorian, don't count your eggs before, or don't count your eggs before they chicken. Don't count your chickens before they hatch type thing. But I believe PP is going to get this all done by the end of the year, and we'll be in an amazing spot for after that. So yeah, there are these Thorn Gun Mages. They're all good to go. They look pretty good, eh? No, I'm going to have to wait for this to cure. I'm sure some of you are maybe wondering why I don't use accelerant, and I found with Gorilla Glue here. By the way, here's a little trick. Sometimes I find like there's extra glue. I did too much. I just use this to wipe it off. I find it's something that's pretty good at getting it not too bad, and it's there anyway. But I find my accelerant I used to always use doesn't work with this Gorilla Glue, so I just kind of leave things down to cure now. Make sure I don't lose those arms, because losing all my arms would really, really suck. You go there. Man, it's hot down here. I don't know why. Everything should have been fine. So it wasn't that hot of a day. But one of the things I was kind of wondering too, if I was going to be coughing all the way through this video. For those who are in Canada, you are probably well aware that we have these big fires right now in British Columbia. We already had to deal with them before in Alberta and stuff like that, and last year, and now this year it's BC that's really getting hit by it. So it really sucks. A lot of people losing their homes, but for us here in Alberta, we are getting, of course, all the smoke in the air. And so for people like yours truly who are allergic to this stuff, yeah, that's a problem. You know, I say allergic, but I have asthma. And so when I breathe in this stuff, it really bothers me. And so I'm actually surprised I've gotten so far into this Bell report without coughing like crazy. That's one of the reasons why I would make sure I had this drink, even though I didn't know what type of drink it was really. yeah, it's been kind of rough. And so, I mean, sure, as much as I say for myself, like, ooh, it's been rough, like, people are losing homes and, you know, their livelihoods and all these things. So it's really pretty awful. And there's just almost nothing you can do, right? For those who don't know BC, it is the part of Canada which is all about the trees. Lumber is their #1 export, and that's because the whole place is full of parks and trees. And when you have that, you get fires. You know, it's just the way it happens. If things are dry, like they have been, you get these crazy fires, and it's just bad for everyone. So I know that's not really War Machine related, but I you know, as a Canadian, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up. Now, I think some of these are like, yeah, there's some of these that are female and some of these that are male, and you can kind of tell because some of the legs are really slender, whereas the other ones are, you know, like kind of like bigger and stronger. I'm kind of tempted that I should put like some of like the skinny, dainty legs on the big men, and then put the big, strong legs on the women, and like, you know, or at least have a mix or something. I'm sure people do that anyway, but you know, there's part of me that wants to do that just to do something different. Another thing that I picked up here is a second one of these Horgenhold Artillery Corps. Now these ones are great because, man, with Osram and swapping between them, where they have the spell where it's boosted hit, boosted damage. We talked about this last time here. I won't remember what the POW was. This is a new card in here. Yeah, it's Rain 16, POW 14. And yeah, when you put on those spells where it's boosted to hit, well, you hit, which is nice. But then, if you hit, you have brutal damage. And yeah, that's turns out that's pretty good when you're also getting boosted damage from the spell. So you're getting a POW 14, shooting out 16 inches, and 4 dice damage. Yeah, that's going to ruin somebody's day. And so now with the two of them, of course, I can swap the spell back and forth, and that's going to be great. Because, I mean, these things are cheap. What are they? I just put the thing down, but I think they're like 6 points, so that really is very reasonable. I mean, pretty much you're picking between a gun bunny or this thing, and it just does better than a gun bunny. Like, it literally is just an upgrade, so why the hell not? And then I don't need to buy more gun bunnies, although I guess buying this is actually more expensive. Now, of course, there is more to this, but it shouldn't be too hard. There's 2 crew, and then there's the one that's also kind of like on the little gun thing. It's just like this tiny little mortar thing. Boo, boo. But whatever, it's all right. I suppose while I'm doing this, I should start answering some of these questions like I said I was going to. And the first one here comes from Travis Coles, and he asks, when will you play Rhett? Now, if you don't know Travis, Travis is the owner of Tactical Magic Games up in Fort McMurray, and I used to play with him quite often when I was up there for 8 years. And he's a Rhett player, and if you know my Mr. Malorian Facebook page or my videos, he's always posting on there, play Rhett, play Rhett. If I have a question in just my usual Facebook, play Rhett, play Rhett. I don't know why he wants me to play Rhett, but he keeps on pushing on it. And the answer really is, I still have no intention to play Rhett. Rhett is very powerful and great right now, but they just don't have as many options as Signar and Mercenaries. That's why I picked them as my 2. Because if I was to pick, you know, I should make a joke now and say like Scorn and then Minions. They don't really work together that much. And then there's the new theme. But, you know, if I was to pick Scorn and, you know, Retribution, they don't work together. I'd have to either be playing my Retribution or my Scorn. And that's really it, unless some crazy theme comes out. Well, by owning Mercenaries and Signar, almost all the Mercenaries work for Signar, so it's kind of like just piling on the options there. And then for the Mercenary side, well, not only do you have them from doing that, but now there's also a few things you can use Signar stuff in Mercenary lists, so it's just great synergies. There's so many options. I mean, honestly, you can't go anywhere else and have this many options. It is freaking amazing. And so I'm sure at some point You know, I just like how I'm going to have to be playing minions at this next event here. I'll play Rhett at some point, just out of boredom, or, you know, from losing a bet or whatever type thing. But yeah, I just don't, and I don't. He just keeps on bringing this up, and I don't know how to say no in any other way. How about I'll say it this way? Okay, Travis, this is how you're going to get me to play Rhett. Come to a tournament that I'm playing at, and then I will borrow your Rhett. We're going to swap armies, right? So if we're both at the same tournament, you give me your 2 lists, I'll give you my 2 lists. Hey, you got me to play Rhett. So there, the ball's in your court. Right now, I'm trying to glue down this female dwarf, the one that's supposed to be by the gun here. Unfortunately, she has little feet, and they're like curved, and so they don't go down that well. But I'll just hold it here while I do the next one, and hopefully it's cured by the time I'm done. From SR Young 4, do you feel like a Mark II Crix player for playing Signar in Mark III? Well, it's... Alright, there's 2 ways that I could be looking at this. One, Crix was really powerful in Mark II. So if that's your angle on it, that Crix was really powerful, do I feel that Signar is very powerful? Yes. Another way you could be looking at this is that everybody needed a plan for Crix, right? You need to be able to deal with infantry. Are you going to stay, Dwarf Lady? Are you being good? It seems like you're being good, but I have a hard time trusting you. Let me put that there. No, I'm just not going to touch it. I'm just not going to touch it. You stay. That's the way you get your glue to work. You got to talk to it. Now, just like you had to have a specific plan for Crix in Mark II, you kind of need to have a plan for Signar, so I could agree that as well. But the problem is that whereas the Crix problem was dudes and dudes and dudes and dudes, so you take anti-infantry and it basically deals with all Signar. One easy solution like that does not deal, or sorry, anti-infantry to deal with the Crix. One easy solution doesn't work with Signar, right? You could say like, oh, well, I'll take the anti-shooting to be trying to deal with all the shooty Signar, but if it's based on blocking non-magical, Kane 1 gets around it. If it's based on a cloud wall, Sloan gets around it. If it's based on stealth, well, then Sloan gets around it. There's multiple ones that have mage sight, which again would get around stealth and things like that. You know, there's just so many different things just for the shooting threats, and then there's a lot of other threats as well. Like there's so many other great, like Haley 3 and Haley 2 lists. Like there's so many different ways to go in Signar that's all very competitive, that it's not like you can just say like take all your anti-infantry and then you'll be fine against Crix. There's a lot more other options here. Now, I guess what I'm really trying to get at is I'm trying to break up yours and make it more serious, but I guess what you're really just trying to get at is that is Signar the powerhouse that's kind of like the boogeyman and dominating Mark III, and they're close. I mean, Signar right now is very close to being at the top of the heap. They're fighting it out there with Retribution and with Khador. But at the same time, things are about to get really shaken up because Grimkin just dropped on the scene and they're looking to be pretty amazing. There's a lot of people finding a lot of pretty crazy combinations in Grimkin, and I mean, we're just getting at the tip of the iceberg. I mean, as tournaments start happening and people are realizing more and more combinations and interactions, I have a lot of thought that Grimkin are going to shoot through there. And they also have a lot of anti-shooting. We're going to see a lot of anti-shooting from the Trencher theme as well, and from Witch 2. So from seeing that, all the shooty lists from Signar are about to be a lot more trouble. I mean, the Trencher Cloud Wall, someone can get through that, I guess, but the -5 range from the Witch 2, that's kind of a big deal. I mean, again, I guess, was it the King of Nothing gets clouds, Sloan get around that, so might be forced to be only having Sloan as your answer, which is unfortunate. But anyway, I've been rambling on with that question too long. Hooray, that model stuck. And now I can deal with this. Oh yeah, there's the one dwarf that's supposed to be holding a rocket, and then there's another one that's just kind of like pointing. And then there's axes. And you know what? I'm not going to put the axes on there. I know you're supposed to have every weapon that they have shown. I am literally never going to attack with them, right? If it gets to a point where they're attacking me and they're engaging my crew, I can't see me even seeing it as worthwhile to make the attacks, right? I have to be engaged with like Risen for these guys to actually have a chance to take it out. It's one of those things where it's just not worth the time on my death clock. And really, if they get all back to these guys, like these guys should be 16 inches back from the front line. If you get back here and you're engaging and fighting them and they somehow didn't die, well, this is one weird situation, and I'm guessing that if you're fighting these guys in my back line, things are looking pretty bad, so I'm not going to be worried about axes. Alright, let's do another one. Andrew Tyrannid Muscat says, why is Scorn the next faction you own? It's not. Again, I am dedicated to Signar and Mercenaries. In the past, I was really reaching out, and I think I had 6 factions at one point, and I just had to say no. You know, it's just too expensive to try and keep up everything. For trying to be competitive, it's too demanding to want to stay up on all of them. It's a lot better for me if I pick 2 factions and dedicate to them. So for financial reasons and competitive reasons, I am not looking for another faction. And if it was another one, I just can't see me doing Scorn. If nothing else, I'd like to not play Scorn so that I can continue to make fun of them, because it's fun. You know, I hope by now most Scorn players realize I don't truly hate them. It's just fun to hate them. You know, that type of a thing. Alright, you arms is glue, and we'll deal with this guy. This is always something that happens with these artillery models. There's always the one dude that's like, I want you to shoot over there. Pointing. Oh, klutzy hands. Yeah, you know the look. And he's not even pointing straight. So, must be a thing where, shoot over there. You mean where all the bad guys are? Yeah, of course, shoot there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing these guys. Of course, I should really try and get them painted up first. I don't think they'll take too long to paint up. I mean, the scheme that I use for these guys, most of it will just be green. They got a few pouches I have to do, some armor at the top there. But yeah, I see me painting these guys extremely quickly. So there's that one. And then hopefully your arms are ready here with your little weapon. Your little bomb you're going to put in there. Oh, and you got a stupid bunch of flash on your foot. I know some people would be doing more work to like wash the model and like file away the lines. I don't do that. If I see something obvious, of course I'm going to deal with it. I'm not going to just leave it on there. But I don't waste more time than that. Alright, so that's done. And so let's do one more question, and then we'll go on to the last model there. And the next one is from Bob Smith, and Bob asks, what software you use to make these videos? I use Windows Movie Maker. I have a PC, not a Apple, and it's free. And one comes automatically on your computer if it's, you know, set for Windows. Microsoft stuff, and if it's not, you just go on to the Microsoft website and you download either the program or the update or whatever you need. And I know you can buy a lot more fancy things, and for a while I was looking into getting a more fancy program, but it's just not needed. I can do everything I need with this right now. If I ever decide I want to get into battle reports that are, you know, up in quality in terms of being closer to like the Wargamer Girl ones, sure, I might need to look into something else, but really functionally I can do everything right now. And the biggest thing that other programs give is more options, and one of my priorities right now is to reduce the time this takes, right? If I can go in and put together a battle report in 30 minutes and be done, that's fantastic. I don't want to take it more time. I mean, if it's one of these Paintisodes where either my family's not here or they're asleep and I'm just down here painting or building, sure, why not? It doesn't harm anyone. But otherwise, normally I just don't have the time to be doing this stuff. That's also one of the reasons why Paintisodes disappeared, is because there just wasn't the time. Alright, just had to take a short break there, but yeah, there's the answer to that. Now, the other model that I got, and this has regret written all over it, is Colby Sterling, captain of the Bree variant. And so yeah, so she looks interesting, you know, model wise, but rule wise she's pretty trash. So let's kind of look at the model first. As I right away try and clip away any flash I see. I mean, if you look at her, she's a pretty cool model. You know, she's just this mechanic which has the big slug gun, a big wrench. She's almost like a Dirty Meg type of model, and you know, she's interesting. You know, I almost wonder if this is this actually just a variant of Dirty Meg? I mean, I know it's not because the rules aren't, but I mean, it looks kind of close to some of the stuff that she already had. I wonder if this model actually started as, let's build like Dirty Meg 2, or just like a variant on Dirty Meg, and then they're like, screw it, let's just make something new and cool, and then just kind of went with it. Because a lot of it has kind of like the same feel to it. I mean, basically, if you take Dirty Meg and improved her wrench thing and gave her a trench coat, and she grew longer hair, this is kind of this. I don't know, maybe I'm seeing the things that's not there. But let's actually look at what she is and what she does. So, she's just a mercenary solo, nothing else fancy about her. She's 6'6", for all, like, you know, movement, strength, and rat and mat. She's 14-13 when it comes to defensive stats. Command doesn't super matter, although I guess it kind of does. She has gunfighter, and then she's also a, what do you call it, Jack Marshall. She has the slug gun, which is range 4, and then POW 14. So that sounds good, POW 14, but that range 4 really means she's going to be getting herself in danger. She has a wrench, which is POW 9. So, you know, it's not really doing too much with that. And at the back, she has dodge, so somebody can't hit a 14. I guess she can dodge around. Her drive for her Jack Marshall is reposition 3. So, alright, I guess some others have reposition 5. That'd be better. She's mechanically adept, so she can fix things even if it's not a faction. And then, so it's like, okay, well, she's just some general repair chick. And then the way that she repairs is that it's just D3 plus 1. So it's not even like one of the good ones where it's like D3 plus 3 or something like that. It's just D3 plus 1. Like, I'd rather it be D6, right? Because the average of this is going to be 3. Average of a D6 is 3.5. So she's kind of not a good mech. Doesn't have good abilities. And at least she's only 3 points. But I mean, if I have only 3 points left, I'll take Dirty Meg, or I'll take, you know, if I have minions options too, I can take the little Tinker, or I could go and take, you know, Bloody Brannigan. I don't see a way I'm going to use her unless I'm really trying to do something crazy with having in a whole bunch of different Jack Marshalls. And I guess that's something I'm a little bit disappointed in Privateer Press, is that the Jack Marshall thing, I really am not a fan of the way they changed it. I've talked about this before, but I mean, in Mark II, they had a pseudo focus basically, because like every turn they could either run for free or charge for free or boost a hit or boost damage. It basically was a free focus. The only things you couldn't do are things like shake. You know, you couldn't use your focus to shake knockdown or something like that because you didn't actually have a focus. And now what they did with these Jack Marshals is made it so that they can go and have these abilities. So now when they go, that's like, oh, we go for a crush attack, and it gets +2, but you're really just better if you could have boosted. It's just not really good. I would have much rather the saying, like, for Jack Marshals now, you get to the power-up thing, so you get 1 focus, and if it's from a Jack Marshal and not from the caster, then you actually get 2 from power-up. And that sounds like that might be too powerful, but remember, these little solos are so easy to kill. We're not talking about, you know, the junior warcasters even, which have focus that they could use to reduce the damage, and their defensive stats are higher and so forth. These little solos die very, very easily. So at least with that, there'd be a reason to take them, and then they could really give a benefit to your Jacks that's really simple. I mean, here's another problem with Jack Marshals. The rules for them are quite extensive, right? So whereas before, it was like a pseudo focus, let you do this and this and this and this, and again, it might have just been easier to say you get 1 focus. Now it's just all these different things for the crush and whatever the other ones are all called. Like, nobody does it because it's just too complicated, right? It's not really good. It's kind of a lot to remember, so unless you're doing it all the time, most players won't even remember the rules. And so if they changed it and said, okay, well, they provide the power up to their Jacks, and instead of 1 focus, it's 2, that's something that's easy and it's good. I would see people doing this. And then all of a sudden, all these Jack Marshals that nobody uses a Jack Marshal, they're going to start Jack Marshaling. So, I don't know. I really hope they make those changes. And so that's one of the reasons why I still buy models like this. Like, she does look really cool. I'm a completionist, so for those reasons alone, I'd pick her up. But there's always that hope in the back of my mind that at some point, she'll be good as well. So, we'll see if that actually happens. So that's all the stuff I bought. So there's that going. The Thorn Gun Mages, I'm going to have to go and, you know, do more work on them, but I'm going to let that cure. I have nothing else to glue right now for this. So let's do some more of these questions. We've got 3 more. Nick West. So, are you going to play Grimkin? I was actually more tempted. Of all the factions right now, I am kind of tempted to play the Grimkin, but the more I look into it and the more I, you know, if I ever feel like I'm making lists, like I'm on my tablet, I'm like, ooh, this would be cool and this would be cool, oh my god, this is some neat jank, then I stop, I sleep on it, and then the next morning I'm like, you know what, it's a lot better if I have that money in my bank account. That'd do a lot better for me, and my wife won't kill me, so that's all happy times. And it's, again, like I was saying, I just want to focus on those 2. I mean, it might have been better just to focus on 1, but here I got 2 factions, they synergize together. I can't see any better thing than this to be doing, and it just, for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be doing another one. I actually still have Circle. I got rid of some of it. Actually, I donated some of it to a painting challenge thing. But yeah, I still have these ones, which I could play with, but I just don't want to. I don't want to get back into it. I'd rather just sell them and kind of be done, so I don't need to kind of like be distracted by Circle and feel that I need to be buying new models and stuff like that. SR Young 4 asked another question. On the cusp of your Butcher 3 slaughter, that's where my Nemo 3 just went and killed Butcher 3 pretty handily, do you think Nemo 3 would still be played if his feat affected enemies in his control range instead of friends in his control range? That definitely would make things a lot more dangerous. For an example, that's something that is the reason why Siege isn't taken as much. For Siege's ability, the enemy has to be in your range and not the friendly. And so really, for Siege to do his work, he has to get up there, and it's a very dangerous spot. Whereas the way that Nemo 3's is, like, you're fine. If it wasn't for Killbox, you could be really far back, popping your feet, and just benefits for days. Now, as you say, if that was taken away, well, Nemo has the advantage of having 1 more focus, so his control range is further. He cannot make himself a foxhole like Siege can, so that's a problem. You'd have to kind of watch where you can go, although normally with Nemo 3 you're taking 2 the Storm Striders now, so you can usually hide behind them. So I think what I'm getting at is the answer is yes, he would be still taken and still would be good. And, you know, maybe honestly, maybe that is a good change to him. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, really, if Privateer Press did a CID and suggested that change, I wouldn't be against it. I think that's a valid thing to do. I mean, it's not like this is something where if you were Focus 5, right, and have a control area of 10, then you definitely want your things only to be affecting your own friendly stuff. But when you got something like this, like Nemo, which is control range 14, and then you got the Squire for 16, like, you got range for days, and you can be fairly safe, especially if it's only your own. So it would be a game changer. And maybe, you know, to be fair, he would still be good, but I bet you then he'd fall out of favor. And then the guns would come back, you'd be seeing more Sloan. And so I don't know if you want to do that. Like, maybe that's not the solution everybody wants. Maybe to make Lightning more viable, they need to leave him the way he is. But still, I'm still going to stick with the idea that I think that your idea is a good one, and it could definitely change to that. All right, last question is from James Spires. Hopefully I said your name right. And it says, changes, although I think you mean chances, Grimkin might bring... Oh, no, sorry, you're right. Changes Grimkin might bring to the meta. Well, first of all, there'll be more Grimkin. So I really, everybody is jumping on board because they're looking very strong. So you can be sure that you're going to see a lot of Grimkin all over the place. So as far as the meta change, there's going to be a bunch of Grimkin. Now, I think the Grimkin have two different things that are really going to be skewing the game in two different ways. One, a lot of their abilities have to do with you getting within range of them. This is all their arcanas. And that kind of gives benefit to guns. So to ignore those arcana, you just take guns, don't get within range, pew, 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 good to go. Then again, there's still Witch 2. And Witch 2 is really going to make things harder for gun ranges. Now, you can just take the longest threat. So it's not like Witch 2 completely turns off your shooting like Zerkova does, or takes away the damage like Gunbjorn does. But what she does is that if you're shooting within her control range, then you're -5 range. Which, if you're something with a gun range of like 10, well, then it's ridiculous. You're never going to go up and shoot within 5. You're just basically throwing your model away. But if you're something more like a Hunter under Sloan, which is range 16, so you're going down to 11, that's still possible and still playable, although it really does hurt things. So what you're really getting to is something where you're really looking at a lot more shooting to deal with them, but there's a few things in their list which is going to really shut down shooting. So you're going to probably find yourselves in a very interesting list chicken, where it's like, well, if we get this matchup, that's really bad, but if we get this matchup, that's really good. And it's going to be one of those things where that's going to depend what both people drop. As everybody else goes, I mean, there's going to be a long time now where there'll be crappy Grimkin players and good Grimkin players, and the good Grimkin players are going to love it because they're just going to be surprising everyone and really changing things up. And I think, too, it's going to make people have some trouble with their death clock, because since the Arcana happen in the other person's turn, you're going to be like, oh man, I don't want to do this. Do I want to do this? Because you might do an Arcana. Are you going to do the Arcana? Right? So that might be a thing, but that's not really a meta change. I think it's just really Grimkin coming up as a dominant faction, and then the list chicken changing so that you're not sure whether you want to be forcing the shooting or not going with shooting and just trying to have more of a Crix. Maybe that's it. A lot of Grimkin has a lot of infantry that you're going to see, and so between the Crix infantry and the Grimkin infantry, if both of those are really being dominant, you are probably going to see even more so. I mean, people already for Ghost Fleet were taking a lot of anti-infantry. You'll be seeing even more anti-infantry coming out. So that's definitely another shift you're going to see. So anyway, everything is glued. I've answered all the questions. I've actually had to paused this video, so I'm not sure of the timings where we're at, but time-wise, it's midnight. My eyes, if you're seeing it, they're starting to fall asleep. So I think I'm going to cut off here. So thanks for watching. If you have any other comments on the things I talked about, please post them down below and I'll answer them. I also love hearing what you did. So whether during this video you painted something up or built something or worked on something, let me know because I like to know. And otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.